Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today I'm going to try to start the Ferguson. I had to run to town to get this tiny little hose clamp. This test tank has an 1/8 inch barb, which is kind of unusual, but I'll have to live with it. And I didn't have anything but 1/4 inch ID hose. So I found this hose, which is pretty flexible, and it's going over both the 1/4 inch and the 1/8 inch, but I had to clamp this down real tight. Hopefully it doesn't leak with this little regular hose clamp on it. I think it should be all right. So I'm going to get this attached to the carburetor, put a little bit of gas in here, and hopefully this thing will start. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I'll link to them above and in the comments and stuff. But I rebuilt this carb over the winter, had a few problems here and there with it, and I'm hoping to hell it works. The last time I tried to start this, it kicked over and sputtered for a bit and then died out. And I was thinking it was the fuel system. So now with the carb rebuilt and fresh gas and the gas going directly to the carburetor, if it runs, I'll rehook up the fuel system, put some fuel in the tank, and then if it doesn't run after that, then I'll know I have a problem in the fuel line somewhere. So let me get this carburetor on and hook it up to the little test tank, and let's give it a shot. Okay, so here's what happened so far. I turned on the gas, the bowl filled up, and pretty much right away it started dripping. It was dripping off of this carburetor bowl drain, this nut down here, and I was thinking that the float valve may be stuck or something and it's letting gas into the carburetor. There's a drain down here for excess gas because this is an updraft carburetor. I went to the house and I got some stuff and I came back and it was still slowly dripping, which would tell me it's not leaking at the gasket here or at the float valve because this is turned off. As soon as this is turned off, it's only going to leak a little bit and then stop. It had to be leaking somewhere at the bottom. So I checked this carburetor bowl drain and it tightened up about 3/4 of a turn, but it was still leaking a little bit. And so I wiped everything nice and clean. I didn't even think of this little screw, and this little screw is not in the list of parts for this carburetor. I don't know if this is like a very briefly made carburetor or something, because they don't even show this on most of the instructions and stuff. But that was it. I turned that in. That was like quite loose. Like I put it on and I never tightened it, and it was dripping out of that because I could see gas like forming and like climbing up the side of the carburetor, and it was going from here down to this drain plug and dripping from there. I haven't turned the gas back on since then, but I haven't seen a single drop since then either. So let's turn this on and see if we got any leaks. Hopefully not. I want to get this damn thing started today. Yeah, I had such a problem getting this carb rebuilt. Well, it was mostly stuff that I did, or I got bad parts and just a whole nightmare. I'll link to that stuff above if you want to see it. But one thing I can tell you is get the deluxe carb kit from Steiner Tractor. that has basically everything in it. I ended up getting a cheaper kit and then the Steiner kit on top of that. That looks like it's it. It's not leaking at all. All right, let's try starting this thing. Okay, she's leaking again. I'm not 100% sure where it's coming from. It looked like it was coming from this screw before, but I'm gonna have to track that down. Okay, you could see it bulging. It's coming out of the drain in the bottom of the carburetor, so it's probably leaking between the float chamber and the main body. So I'm going to pull this off, tighten up these screws, and try it again. Okay, after tightening down these screws that hold the float bowl to the main body of the carburetor, it has not leaked a drop. I cleaned this place up real good and put that towel down about 15 minutes ago. I went to the house and all kinds of stuff, and nothing, not a drop down here. So I just got to get this tightened all the way up. I just put these on there to hold it in place. Get the linkage hooked up, and we'll try to start this thing again. All right, I have the throttle on and the choke on. Neither one of them have a cotter pin in them, and this choke is really loose, but hopefully I can do it. You're supposed to have the choke fully open when you try to start it, so I'm going to need 2 hands for that. So I gotta connect the battery and turn my starter into the on position over to the right. And the way these Ferguson start is you have to go through neutral, and then it has a S right there. You're actually just pushing a lever that's up in the front here, but it forces you to not have it in gear, because a lot of people, when you're standing right in this position, you're right in front of the wheel, and people would start the tractor when they're working on it and promptly get run over. So I think we're ready to try to start it. Oh, and we need to put the throttle at about a quarter. Right there should do it. All right, let's give it a shot. I would call that a success. Holy moly. All right, there's still a problem with this carburetor. It ran really nice, probably idling a bit too fast, but I can work on that. But once I shut it off, not immediately, but within a minute or two, it just started gushing gas out of this drain plug again. And, you know, it was dripping right off this plug right there. So I think this might have had a couple problems. Before, it was just leaking continuously. Well, let's turn this back on and see what it does. Before, it was just dripping continuously, and then when I tightened those up, it completely stopped. But once I ran this, that got all the stuff in the carb working. So I'm wondering if the float valve or the float valve seat. The float valve seat has a washer on it. Yeah, dripping like crazy. So I'm wondering if maybe I put the wrong washer in there, or if that's not tight, or I'm pretty sure the float is set right, but I'm gonna have to pull this thing off, open it up, and check all that stuff out, and then put it all back together again and give it another try. Okay, I have the carb taken apart, and I tightened up the valve seat a bit. It just went just a little bit. I have the gas turned on right now, and the needle valve is in there. With it just laying in there by itself, doesn't appear as though any gas is coming out. Let's turn it around. So the float might not be pushing that up tight enough. I don't know. I'm starting to get some gas right here. Okay, I wiped this off nice and good, and I'm trying to tell if gas is coming out from the valve seat here. It's really hard to tell, but it's not coming out. For sure, it's not coming out like it was when this was on the vehicle, when it was dripping like that. I mean, holding it like this, not a drop. So let me put the float back on here and see how that's working, and maybe we can figure out where this leak is coming from. It could be that it's still this gasket, but we'll see. Alright, I have the float on there, and it appears to be sealing quite nice. We give it a little bit. Yeah, a good amount of gas comes out then, but this float might be adjusted wrong. We'll shut this off and check that. And if that's not it, then it must be the gasket between the top and bottom. That's the problem. I checked the gap on this, and it's exactly at 9/30 seconds. It looked like it was a little bit high, a little bit more than 9/30 seconds, and I pushed it down, and right now it's at 9/30 seconds. Let's see what this does. So as it gets low on fuel, there's the fuel. Shut this back off. Alright, well, like I said, I tightened down that valve seat a little bit, and if there was something in the valve itself, something interfering with the valve and the valve seat, maybe I got that cleared out. Not really sure. I'm going to put this back together and we'll give it another try. It's been several minutes since I got this thing back together. I was holding it in my hand for a while and it was not leaking, so I just kind of loosely hung it up over here. The valve is on, there's gas going into there. I don't know, it looks good, but it looked good before. It had quit dripping completely, and then after I started it, it leaked like crazy. So I think I'm going to tighten this back down, start the tractor again, and see if it starts leaking again. Alright, I got it all tightened up, and I forgot that I did adjust that float, so that very well could have been it. Or it could have been a combination of the float and the valve seat. I really don't know, but It is not leaking right now, and we'll see if it leaks when I start it up again. Alright, while it was running, I did not check the ammeter or the oil gauge, so I'm going to have to start it up and check those. And what else? Oh, this right here, you can see this brand new belt is hitting on something, and it may be a little bit too loose, so I'm going to tighten this up a little bit and see if that solves that problem. This thing has a terrible bracket on the bottom, and I figured I may have to weld that. That remains to be seen. Let me tighten this up a little bit, start it again, and check these gauges. Then I need to adjust this radiator. When I put it on, it's just a little bit crooked. All I got to do is loosen the bolt, push it in. Then I'm going to get the hood on this thing, and hopefully I can drive it out, but I'm not sure. With the gas line like that, I would have to hold this, but it's not really that big of a deal. Let's see what we can do. Okay, gas on. Electric on. This thing is still a little bit small for me. I got really long legs, but it'll do. All right, ignition on and start. Okay, the oil was right at 10. I don't know if that's good or not. I wouldn't think so, but maybe it is. The ammeter did nothing, so I don't know. Usually if those are backwards, it's either going to read like it's going negative or positive. So something is going on with the charging, and it could be the connection with that, or that belt might be way too loose. Let me tighten that up and see if something happens here. Trying to find, I'm guessing that these are the hood mounting bolts because they have gray ends on them. Yeah, that's got to be it. I don't know if these had washers or not, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, when I drove it out here, the ammeter started working and it went up to where it is right now. And I don't know why it's still there. I think it should go back to 0, but I'll look into it. And again, the oil went up to 10 psi, maybe 12. I really don't know what the oil pressure should be on this, so I'm going to look that up tonight and we'll go from there. So far, so good. I think I may have fixed what was rubbing on this, that I think it just needed to be tightened up a little bit. And I definitely fixed the leak on the carburetor. So I'm gonna, well, I'll shut this off right now. And I'm gonna have to put the hood on this. It's gonna rain for the next 10 days, so this needs to stay out of the rain. Or at least this top stuff needs to stay out of the rain. Okay, this setup worked really well. I got this about 2 years ago, and I had planned on just putting it on an S-hook and hanging it from one of the shelves. But then I thought better of that. It's not going to be mobile enough. So I got this cheap IV stand. Where is that? That is Economy IV pole with removable top by Drive. I'll put a link to this stuff in the description. Now I got to get this hood back on. All I can do is just lay it back on there. I'm going to need probably 2 people to help get that on. It's fairly heavy and it has a locking mechanism up in the front that keeps pushing it away. It was hard enough getting that thing off by myself, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get it on. So let me get that on and then we'll go through what else I got to get done on this. So I got this stuff plugged up temporarily. Got a little bolt in there, got some foil on this. I just put the original intake on there and have it aimed down. Like I said, it's going to rain like crazy the next few days. The rest of this is pretty much waterproof, but I would like to keep this under a roof somewhere, but not feasible right now. I'm going to need probably 2 other people to help get this hood on. It is really heavy and it's really hard to get aligned because it has a mechanism under there for locking and unlocking it. So when I get some help, I'll get the hood all the way on. I want to use this to pull a wagon, that wagon right there. We have nephews and nieces and stuff coming over for Natalie's graduation party, and I think they would love a hayride. It's running really good, really nice and smooth, but the oil pressure, I don't know if 12 pounds is the correct oil pressure or not, and I have no idea why that ammeter is still pointing to 22. I could swear that should be at 0 right now, so I'm going to look that stuff up and I'll let you know what I find. And eventually I got to get the air cleaner back on, unless I swap that out and put a more modern one on. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but once I have it running reliably, I have lights for it, I have a battery hold down that I want to get on there. I also have to get the correct fuel system hooked back up, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I just got to get a different filter for it and see what's up with that leak. I think I'm going to pull the whole unit out and put some gasket sealer on it and see if I still got a leak then. So if you want to see all that stuff, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.